Welcome back to the Minutemen podcast. Today we got Tyler with us, and we have a question: red dots for concealed carry handguns or duty guns. And Tyler already told me he's got a pretty spicy opinion on the matter. You want to
Yeah, I've
lead it
got
off on that?
I've got an opinion on this that I have been told I am the boomer in the room multiple times for. I think if you are going to put in the good initial work to develop and maintain a positive index on the draw stroke from whatever you're carrying, it's Farland, concealed carry, what have you, red dots are the way to go. If you are not, if you're a casual gun owner, if you are Joe Bob down the road that's going to shoot 5 times a year, red dots might be fun to play around with. They probably aren't for you. And that comes for a couple reasons. The biggest one is it's going to eat time up that you probably either need to be shooting or doing something else, trying to figure out where your red dot is because you don't have a repeatable index on the gun.
Oh, those are fair points. I'm all for red dots on concealed carry guns and duty guns. If you can afford it, have the time to train with it, and can and actually, like I said, actually train with it, I think you're gonna be good. I don't think it's an absolute necessity. I still carry a couple guns that I regularly carry don't have red dots on them. My main concealed carry gun, main duty gun do have red dots, but I have a Bodyguard 2.0 that I'll use as a deep concealed carry gun a lot in situations where I just need a deep carry gun. Does not have a red dot on it, just has irons. My workout gun, the gun that I carry 3 times a week for about an hour to 2 hours, 3 times a week, where I'm sweating on it, it's up against my body on a 4 to 5 mile run, doing weights, stuff like that. I don't have a red dot or anything else on it. It's just purely a Glock 19 with irons. It's just simply because I am trying to not have extra stuff on there because I already had issues with rusting and stuff like that. So I want to keep it simple and clean so I don't have to deal with that. But if all you do is buy the gun, buy the dot, but don't train with it, I think it's probably going to cause some issues. But absolutely, if you're willing to spend the time and effort to train with it, which it's not, I don't think it takes a ton of effort to get used to them. You just have to be motivated to actually do it and do dry fire. It's a very good tool. You're going to be quicker and more accurate with the red dot than you will with the irons.
Now, I 100% agree with your assessment. So I have three carbon copy Glock 17 Gen 5s.
Yep.
One is an irons only gun, and it's got the Ameriglow bold sights that came on the blue label, and I think it came on the red label guns too. I have another one that it's been milled for a 509T with a mod light pistol light on it, and that is my like duty gun. And then my competition gun is another Glock 17 Gen 5 with a Holosun 507 count. So I can, depending on the role, depending on what I'm doing, and my favorite concealed carry gun, contrary to most people on the internet's opinion, is my iron-sighted 17. Because I can still shoot that gun like a madman compared to almost everybody on planet Earth. And it's one less thing to worry about. The screws are one less thing to check. It's one less battery to change. It's just easy. It just makes my life easier. And I don't know if you've been inducted into the snubby revolver cult. I have. So with the lifestyle I live now for most days, I work in very rural settings where the highest incidence of crime rate that I encounter is like a stop and rob in a population center of 60 people. So I live a very low risk profile lifestyle most of the time. So when I'm doing that, I carry a snubby because more likely than not, having a gun that I can shoot, black of a B8 out to 25 in a reasonable time frame is more important than having my cool, like Han Solo Space Blaster 9000 in my pants because if I go to my work's headquarters and show up with a gun, I'm probably gonna get fired from my full-time job, and I would rather not have that happen.
Yeah, if like you gotta bring money home to feed the family, and if you get caught, that means you lose your job. So having something with less on it, just a 5-shot revolver that's easier to conceal is that you can actually have on you is better than something left at home.
Yeah.
Or a Smith& Wesson Bodyguard 2.0 with just iron sights and a 10 plus 1 magazine is better than
Yep.
something left at home. And like, I love red dots. I absolutely think if you can have one, you can afford one, you spend the time training with it, you put it on there. But not every situation you can get away with that. Whether it's at work, whether it's whatever environment you're in where you really have to be extra careful of whether you have if you get caught with that or not. 5 shots out of a revolver or 11 plus one out of a bodyguard is still gonna defend you against most things you encounter. So it depends.
Well, and I'm interested to hear your take on this, like the next step down this line of questioning, which is backup iron sights, yes or no? And then what's the best co-witness height if you're yes? And then how often do you shoot or train irons only if you have backup irons capable on your gun?
Yeah, I think I like having backup irons. I don't see any downside of having them on there. The crowd that says irons never fail has never shot their gun enough because regardless what you have, it's going to fail at some point. I've worn out a s- I've worn out a set of dovetails, the rear dovetail that holds in your rear sight. I've worn that out before where it just pops off in the magazine.
Yeah.
So I've seen I've seen a bunch of front sights fly off. I've seen a bunch of rear sights drift. I've seen optics pop off. So whenever someone says this never fails or that never fails, they've not shot their gun enough because it's going to pop off at some point. So why would I not want two sets of sighting systems on there so I can actually use the gun? Because the idea that, oh, well, if my dot goes down, I can just point and shoot. No, we can't just point and shoot. We've gone through that evolution as a training community, and a lot of bad training came out about just pointing and shooting. We won't have to get into all that, but no, you should be able to use your iron sights or your red dot to aim at regardless the distance or anything like that to quickly get a shot on target. So yeah, I'm all for having backup irons. Now, when I do have backup irons, I don't like having tritium or any paint on those irons. It's literally just blacked out irons. I don't like doing a fiber optic rod on them. It's blacked out. And as far as the height goes, I don't need it to be co-witness. I actually don't want it to be co-witness. I want the top of those irons just barely above the bottom of that dot because my primary target system is going to be that red dot. And I don't want them to interfere with my red dot. It's a completely independent sighting system. So say the red dot does die because I failed to change batteries or whatever reason, I can drop down and use the irons. As far as training with irons, I don't put any time into it really. I think if you can the skill associated with that is so similar to shooting a red dot. Shooting a red dot made me a better iron sight shooter. So also like I still use irons from time to time depending on if it's a gun that doesn't have a red dot. So I still shoot irons, but I don't specifically train very often with just using the irons on the backup irons on my gun that has a dot because I don't think it's as necessary of a skill because when you're using a red dot, you still have to have a good grip, still have to have a good trigger press, like you're still having to align your dot to the target, so it still requires a lot of the same skill associated with irons. Now instead of a dot, you just have to do equal height, equal light, and that's the shot. So
I would generally agree with that. I think we're going to differ a little bit. So on my optic capable guns, and I know I don't have my camera on, but I'm holding up and I put a strip of orange paint on my front sight. I don't do the tritium, I don't do the fiber optics.
Yeah.
I do a strip of orange paint on a low co-witness. So, I mean, if I hold any of my optics capable guns up, my irons likely sit in the bottom quarter or maybe a little lower in the
Mhm.
window. So it's high enough if it were tritium, I would be able to see like the whole tritium vial, but that'd be right at the bottom of the deck of the window. But I put a strip of orange paint mostly because if I need it to, it's slightly higher visibility than all black. So in daylight, I'm still going to get a clear enough differentiation between my front sight and a flash sight picture on
Yeah.
something that's dark colored. But that's my only thing. I put backup irons on every gun with an optic. I know that especially in like USPSA, that's not really a common thing. I do it with even my USPSA gun, mostly because if my index is screwed up, like the weird hard leans around walls, and I throw the gun up instead of fishing for the dot, if I can look and see, get a physical index where my iron sights are, if I slam my front sight through the window of the dot, I'm going to catch the dot itself and then go back to shooting as normal. And that methodology for me, I don't know about you, that methodology for me carries through to all of my rifles. They have a dot or even my LPVO gun. I have some kind of, or I want some kind of secondary aiming system on the gun just because I've broken a lot of things. Like everybody thinks your batteries dying, especially with rifles or duty holster carried pistols. I smack those things on door frames all the time. So I've
Yeah.
had like spontaneous loss of zero in a dot where
Yeah.
you get back out to the range. And for me with rifles, the first thing I always do is group it at 50 or most of my dot guns, that's my zero distance. And I'll throw it up there and I've got like a good 6 inch shift from the last time I banged that dot on a door frame. And my witness marks look good. I should be all right, but I'm not. And I've seen that happen a lot before, which that's something that probably is a little bit of a boomer take again for some people. But yeah, if you can have a secondary sighting system on a gun for no extra weight or bulk penalty, man,
Yeah.
why would
It's yeah, because you're talking about less than half an ounce.
yeah,
Even if you're talking about a rifle, if you like at minimum, I know there's some debate on Magpul and bus sights, but at a minimum, you can throw Magpul and bus sights on there, and it adds an ounce or two to your rifle. On your pistol, it's virtually you can't really notice. So why not have a second pair? So
yeah, and that's the other thing. The other thing I know I've gotten a lot of questions about, especially here in the last few years, as the resident gun guy at work, especially when I was doing full-time law enforcement, was open or closed emitters. Do you have a strong preference for that?
I like keep running closed emitters if it's a defensive gun or a duty gun. There's been times I've been running and I take a fall and then mud gets caught up in there. It's just easier to wipe it away with the thumb. So I think for that defensive gun, I do prefer the closed emitters now. But if you have an open emitter, I don't have an issue with it. The Trijicon RMR HD is a great open emitter red dot. I've really thought about looking at switching to that. The SROs are a great red dot. So it just kind of you just gotta
Yeah,
trade off those pros and cons. But I do if the red dot works generally, I'm not gonna say you have to have an open emitter. I would just personally like an open or a closed emitter for a self-defense or duty role because I don't want something getting caught up in there, whether it's mud, snow, whatever, which I have seen happen.
yeah,
With that closed, I just wipe it off. That's the main reason I like that closed over the open.
that's fair. I would say I'm kind of the same way. The only thing I will say is I have, and I don't know about you, I've gotten spoiled with the big windows,
Yeah.
like the Holosum 507 comps, the SROs, things like that. And I've tried in my Safari Land part-time copper gear trying to get enough crap packed in there with the like optic hood. I don't know what the actual name for it is, the Cheeto guard.
Yeah.
Um, still on the holster. tried to get
Yeah.
enough stuff packed in there. I haven't yet. So I mean, I'm kind of okay with either. I would prefer closed if I had a choice, but if it's an agency issued gun and like, dog, the only thing you get to pick is like how much you shoot the thing. Open emitter's not going to get you killed in the streets,
I'd agree.
probably. Are
I'd
fine.
agree. And I'm in the same boat. I tried the Holosun 507 comp, and I'm a huge fan. It's what's currently on my competition gun, and I do like it a lot. So, like I
Yeah.
said, if that's what I was given, I'd just be happy to have red dot. So, but I think we'll probably end it for there, and then the next episode will be weapon lights. Should you have it on your gun? So we'll end it there, and that'll be the next episode.